Today we have some really special programming to share with you. We are going to be going all the way to Saskatchewan, Coté First Nation, where we get to see buffalo released across the land after so long. An incredible story.
The buffalo are very important for Indigenous people because it was their way of life. You know, they represented the freedom that they had on the land to enjoy every blessing that the Creator has given. The buffalo were the main source of sustenance. They provided clothing, provided shelter, and a lot of the parts of the buffalo were used by our Indigenous nations. And one thing about the bison is they're very resilient. They can handle the harshest winters, which gives us First Nations people the same resilience that they have because of what they provide for us. It was the main source of food for our people, and when those were all destroyed, then it just took the will out of the nation. Treaty 4 territory consists of 34 different First Nations, and for Coté First Nation, our treaty was signed in 1874, and the Indian Act came in and kind of destroyed what was a covenant between the Crown and the First Nations.
Lokokoa, it's a Polynesian word. It means a brave heart or brave soul. Lokokoa is a group of Polynesian young men and women who not only love their culture, but somehow believe that their culture as a Polynesian was a gift from the Creator. With our Polynesian group, when we travel to different reserve or reservation, we hear this story of you kill the buffalo, you kill an Indian kind of thing, and so it was always ringing in my ears, but I didn't really understand until probably 2013 that I kind of have this moment of it's like, man, like it would be cool if we can have this animal back and give it back to where it belongs and to the people that the Creator intended for them to have.
Liam and I were sitting mid-2013, and I was asking, how's it working? Your wife is from Papikasis, and you're here in this community. And he said, I want to give away a herd of buffalo. The identity of the men of the Plains First Nations, from the Mississippi to the Rockies, it has been tied up for generations, for centuries, with the buffalo. It started a ball rolling, and it wasn't us, it wasn't settlers, it wasn't immigrants. It was Lima, Lokokoa, married to a Papikasis gal, building trust in the community. They were the bridge. See, our goal at Tear Fund is not to be the leader. Our job is to come behind. Our job is to facilitate, empower, to release Indigenous ministry.
We talk about truth and reconciliation as something that is an action to be taken.
I was going to see one of our supporters, and as I was driving up the gravel road towards his ranch, I saw these 4 massive bulls beside the road. And 20 minutes later, as I pulled in, I said, man, those bison, those buffalo, they're unbelievable. And he went on and talked about them. Later on, he made a commitment to give 22. We structured this through a covenant between Lokokoa and Coté First Nation. It was a covenant built on trust, not with something to get back, but that Papikases would put up the fence, they would put up land, and it would grow as the herd would grow. But when the herd would grow to 100, they would go and gift 22 buffalo, 20 females and 2 bulls to another First Nation. But out of that came a herd that went to Zagame and a herd that went to Pheasant Rump. And now we've seen another herd at Coté First Nation.
We provided the land, and we provided the material for the fence, and Lima and his crew built the fence. And here in Canada and the churches, he provided the resources to buy the buffalo. And Ron was the one who provided the herd. The idea of having the buffalo return back to Coté First Nation, when I mentioned it to a couple of our elders, they got pretty excited. They said, we've been praying for a moment like this where the buffalo would return to our community, because they were gone for over 150 years. And the elders their tears were coming out of their eyes. They were hugging each other. The kids were just screaming and yelling. And when you can hear the thundering of the hoofs on the ground, the animals just coming out, man, just like something came home that was missing for many years. And we just embraced that spiritual relationship with the Creator, saying thank you. Thank you for bringing the buffalo home.
My heart it's always geared to into the redeeming of culture on the First Nation community, and to acknowledge of the beauty of it. And the buffalo have taken me to that road when we go to community and we watch these animals roam and their community come and watch, and there's something stirred in them. That warriorness in them is come to life again. That sense of hope that, the buffalo is coming home.
I have a responsibility as a follower of Jesus. I have a responsibility as a citizen of Canada. I have a responsibility of someone who is on native land to go and give back. But it starts with relationship. It starts with friendship and sitting around a lot of fires and eating some buffalo meat and deer and venison and moose and laughing and smiling, because it's relationship. It's not transactions.
Why do you work with each other?
He's a long-lost brother.
In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, it's great to see the churches in Tirpan, Canada coming to the forefront to represent the settlers that come to Canada to kind of make amends with the First Nations people for what was taken away. We want to give back.
Wow, Carmen, what an incredible story. I think back to the fact that in the 1800s, there were 30 million buffalo across the land here. But as settlers came, they wiped it out. And with that, a way of life, because the buffalo created opportunities for the hide that was needed, for shelter, for clothing, food. And, Indigenous people, from my research, made use of every part of the animal, even the bones for weapons, all different things.
Everything.
And that's so close to identity. It's like wiping out identity when you wipe out the source of somebody's livelihood.
Yeah, and just as mentioned in the video, that buffalo were very important to our people, and unfortunately, the buffalo, as mentioned in the video as well, is that they were killed deliberately so that our people wouldn't survive, so our people wouldn't thrive. So I think that this is just an amazing story, and the gentleman had mentioned that it was bringing tears to his eyes. It was bringing tears to my eyes as well too, seeing this great reconciliation story, and most importantly, this great relationship story, which is huge, I think, for our country right now, is that we can't have reconciliation without relationship either.
And you know, Carmen, you've said something else to me before about that, you know, it's not, Indigenous people are not a problem to be solved. This is a relationship to be had.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there, that, you know, I feel that our people sometimes are always looked at as a problem, but we really are not a problem. And if you begin to have a relationship with us, that you'll begin to see that. So I encourage each and every person out there, you know, begin to have conversations with my Native brothers and sisters out there, because we are not a problem. We are really a good relationship to have, and I think it's so important for the future of our children and our children's children. And in our culture, we love to think 7 generations ahead. So what is that going to look like? Relationship. What is that going to look like in the future for our children?